All right, next we're going to show you how to use the Fire 4000 in Applied Ballistics Internal or ABI mode with your AB applications. All right, one of the first things we need to do to get this unit set up to run Applied Ballistics internally is to download the Applied Ballistics AB Synapse Boss app. Find it in your app store, whether you got Android or Apple. Download it. It doesn't take long at all. Once you get it downloaded, go ahead and hit open. You've got to read through and confirm the agreement, accept it, and then from there you should be good to go. Now, before you can actually link to the Tango 4000, you need to allow the boss to accept the location. So I do it while it's using the app, hit allow, and now I can pair the device. I can hit select device. It's going to search for a unit. Be mindful that this has turned off, so I need to turn it back on. It's back on, and now it should find the device. Found it. A serial number is going to pop up. If I want to confirm it, I can confirm it here. I'll select it, and it's going to say, hey, look for a pin. So now at the bottom right, you can see a pin pop up, and the pin number is 83. So I'm going to do on my phone, after I change the focus back, is type in 83, okay, and then continue. Now from here, that brings us up to the Applied Ballistics or the AB Boss HUD, and it's asking me, hey, do you want to do an update for the ballistics library? We got a Burger 308, 245 grain, and some other good stuff. Absolutely, let's take it. Download, and as you can see, it doesn't take long at all. So next, we're going to talk through the HUD and how to actually set this up for your weapon system. All right, now that we're within the heads-up display or the HUD, let's talk about a few things. First and foremost, this is an Applied Ballistics application. So if you're familiar with the AB Quantum app, then this is going to look very familiar to you. Also, if you haven't heard the news, they're looking at shutting down the AB Boss Synapse app in about 2 weeks, and this will reside within the AB Quantum app. You can determine if you are ready to use this app by simply hitting the devices in AB Quantum, going up to information, and then from information, you should get a drop down of all the things that are in there. You don't see the Fire 4000 in there now, but here in about 2 weeks, we should see that populating. But talking about the Synapse Boss app, the first thing you see is your active licenses. I've got the AB Elite. You may have the Applied Ballistics WES, Weapons Engagement Zone. You may have the X, or you may just have the AB software. If you have a Kestrel with WES or X or Elite, you can automatically get redemption for those, so you don't have to buy it, or you can just upgrade it in the AB Quantum app if you don't have that in your Kestrel. Going down, you've got your gun data, which we'll build that out here in a few minutes. And then you've got your firing solution controls. From here, you've got your elevation and your windage, your range and your wind speed, which is easily adjusted here. From there, we've got heading, which is really cool because if I'm just using my phone and it's internal GPS, I can click the button and it's telling me that it's 12.6 degrees, which is pretty accurate. If I move it over just like this, it's going to be closer to 0, which is 360, or 0 would be north. Now, the next thing you see is inclination. So on a flat surface, I'm reading negative 0.04, and that's simply because of the Android and the way that their phone is. But if I was to elevate this up and hit that button again, it's going to tell me that the angle inclination is negative 24.3. So really cool. From there, I can hit pressure. It tells me station pressure or barometric pressure being 30.2, and then local temp. Unfortunate thing here is it doesn't usually tell you what your temperature is. However, you can hit the weather button here, and it will give you your last known reading of 37 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to go back to the hub. The last thing in your quick functions is your wind direction. If the wind is coming from the right at 3 o'clock, you can simply tap it and it will say the wind is coming from the right. And if it's coming from the 12, you can tap that and it'll say it's going from 12 to 6. So it's very easy, and you can, again, change your wind speed in miles per hour there. And if you don't want it to be miles per hour, you can change that more ways by going into settings and doing some other stuff. Now, this is not going to work effectively unless we make a gun profile. So what we need to do is notice that you can't just tap this and update things. So we have to hit the edit button. And then from here, it's telling us, hey, this is the bullet data that we're going off of. This is straight up standard out of the box what it looks like. So if I click that, nothing happens. If I click user gun 1, now it brings us into essentially a gun menu. Basically like a Kestrel, I can build my gun. Now, again, it's starting us off standard with a G1 profile. I don't want to use that. I want to run a G7, and it's auto-calculating it to make it a .243. You can see it's a 308 and a 175. So for the military guys, you might see that and be like, oh, perfect, that's exactly what I need. A 308, 175 Sierra Match King or SMK is .243. Fun fact, it is no longer .243. The ABE ballistics software now reads a 308 175 SMK as a .241. And there's two ways you can check that. The legacy way was to go to the Applied Ballistics app and go into your profiles, and I always use the ABE app because I'm an ABE Kestrel guy. All right, from here we'd be able to go into bullet library and find a 308 bullet, scroll down to the manufacturer, in this case Sierra, and then scroll down to the weight and type. So to say that 175 Sierra Match King, that is 175 SMK here. I want a G7, and as you can see now, we've got a .241 G7. So that was the legacy way that I always put a G7 BC or a G1 based off of the Applied Ballistics library and not a Hornady or any other library. But what's really cool is in the new AB Synops boss set, you have the same bullet library that you can choose and utilize the same way. Again, 308, and find Sierra, 175 SMK, G7, and like I said, we got .241. So really cool, same thing, just in a different application. But if you understand one, it's really easy to apply to the other. So that is our bullet, and here we can go into 0 range, 0 height, 0 offset, same thing. If you don't understand that, go in and check out our Kestrel class. Rate of twist, running a 1 in 10. Muzzle velocity, we can true this or we can type it in. So if you know this is said we know it's 2670. I can put that in. Height, that is going to be from the center of your bolt face or the center of your muzzle to the center of your optic. And I'm running a 2.75 bore height or scope height. And then really we got vertical and horizontal sight skill. I'm going to leave these at 1.0 because I'm not noticing a shift with the glass that I'm running now. Now, if we want to do a muzzle velocity temperature table, we could build that in right here. So let's say we zeroed our gun, we chronoed it, and we knew that our velocity changed from 30 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. If we have a good chronograph, we could simply track our changes with this temp table. Simply putting in the temperature here, and a temperature along with the velocity that we're getting. And then from there, whenever your Fire 4000 reads a temperature or density altitude, it will understand based off of that data what your velocity should be coming out of the tube. Now, if we want to go a little bit further, let's say we didn't have a chronograph, we could do a true, meaning we could find the velocity of our bullet at Mach 1.2 or the transonic range of the bullet in flight. Just like we do in a Kestrel, we can do that in here to include DSF. So if we want to figure out what our bullet is doing at the subsonic range of flight beyond Mach 1.0, i.e. Mach 0.9, 0.8 and beyond, we could put that in right here. I'm not going to go deep into that right now, but additionally what I want to show you is if you hit the settings button, here you can change your units of measure. So let's just say that you're a MOA guy versus a mils guy. Well, you could simply tap mils or MOA and it would update that. And if I turn on the Fire 4000 and put that here, you'll notice I'm going to change the focus. When I change this from mils to MOA, it's automatically going to change it in the Fire 4000. And if you notice, it transfers extremely quickly. So pretty cool. Same thing, if you want to change any of these units, you can do it right here in the settings menu, and auto-populates it inside of the Fire 4000. That is how we'd set up a gun. So again, we got to give it a BC, bullet data, we've got to give it the velocity, and the zero range, twist, and scope height. Once we have those things, we can hit back. But if you notice, you can score numerous profiles in here. It's saying 1 through 25. So a Kestrel holds 30 guns, and what I see on here is 25 guns. So really cool, and I could easily flop through guns. So I'm going to leave it on gun 1, and I bet you if I wanted to, I could go in and name this gun, and I'm just going to call it Class 308. All right, let's go back to the HUD now. Now that we've talked about building a gun, let's go in and check out the weather. The first thing to understand is that the Fire 4000 does not have onboard weather instruments like temperature, pressure, humidity, so on and so forth, that the Vortex Impact 4000 does have. It's not a big deal though, because it can pull data in ABI mode directly from your phone. You can get data from a local weather station, or you can manually input it from something like a Kestrel and a handheld weather station. With that being said, the first thing you see is the wind direction and wind speed. I shoot 308 a lot, so I'm going to keep it at 3 o'clock and 4 mile per hour. If you're out west and you're shooting a lot in higher winds, then maybe you want to put that as your average wind speed or your gusting wind speed, whatever makes sense to you. But put that in there, and then from here, you can see weather source. So you can put this in manually from something like a Kestrel, or you can hit the internet button, and as you can see, it will automatically pull stuff directly from a local station via the GPS that's in my phone and the permissions that you gave this application. So it's saying it's 57, it's clear, I've got the pressure and humidity, and good to go. So I went outside and checked the environment on my Kestrel just a second ago, and I just want to show you what this is saying. It's saying temperature was 63, so we're only 6 degrees off. It was saying pressure is 29.99, so we're 0.01 off, which is perfect. Relative humidity, 11% off. Ultimately, that does not matter with humidity. I wouldn't worry about it, especially in this temperature. But it's pretty close, not enough to miss your target, especially out to 1,000 meters. Next, we go down to altitude, and again, we can input this manually, or we can do it just by simply hitting the button and letting the phone know where we're currently at. It'll pull the altitude. From there, you've got your target screen, and like I showed you in the HUD, the heads-up display, you can pull the heading and the inclination simply by hitting these buttons. But if you're in a weather mode and you're aiming at your target, you aim at your target, and if I go down and hit take measurement, it will pull all those at one single time. So I think that's pretty cool. Obviously, the one thing that it's not going to give you is the target speed, because I don't know of anyone's phone that's got a Doppler radar on it. But yeah, it's got that in there. All right, so that is the weather. And again, just like the gun setup menu, you can change certain things here, especially like inches mercury or whatever you might want to see. So it depends on where you're at and what you're used to reading. You can update some of those things. Cool? All right, now that we've talked about the weather, let's dive a little bit deeper between ABI and ABE mode.